This audio fiction is recorded for an adult audience. It may contain scenes of explicit sex, violence, and disturbing supernatural entities. Listener discretion is recommended.
Come, lend me your ear, as I speak to you of the macabre, the cursed, the maligned, the malignant, the possessed, and the downright demonic. Bolt all doors, lock all windows. Are you alone? Are you sure? I suggest you check under the bed, carefully, twice. BARATANAC, a new darkness at the world's edge. The sun is setting, Declan thought, his face wrinkled as he peered through the worn kitchen window slats. He listened in vain for the gardener's stereo, but all was quiet and deathly still. The geckos aren't even chirping. He snatched up his phone, squinting at the screen. I have about half an hour left. His lips quivered as he ticked off all the preparations required before he could retreat to his room. There would be no more swimming after dark. Something he couldn't name lurked, and, as he said in his diary, it freaked him out. The voices, the writing. He already felt a pressure building inside him, an itch in his fingers. It was becoming painful to resist. He flipped a switch next to him, the rectangular pool lighting up in the twilight. In the late afternoon's dying minutes, stripes of light illuminated his somber, sunburned face. Angry coral scratches still marked his back, fingertips and toes. His skin was freshly scented from the rub of crushed bay leaves. Water dripped from the draining saucepan into the wet sink, where ants already stalked the porcelain. Still no bats, he thought. He flipped the switch and gifted the garden back to the incoming night. His chest fell, his hoarse exhalation filling the silence. He sucked at the air, almost theatrically, attempting to fill his lungs to satisfaction. The atmosphere in the house's interior was still stale, a toxic mash of sweet decay and sulphur. Thin lines of royal purple faded in the sky as Declan belatedly retreated towards his bedroom, notebooks firmly clutched to his bare, broad chest. His hand gripped a tall glass of water, while his pockets bulged more than usually, with a cooked sweet potato and a banana. The last of the chowder, fleshed out with sweet corn cream, and another tin of heart of palm, swelled in his belly. Once again time had somehow slipped by, and the night began to possess him. Betraying his caution, he flipped one room's light switch off only when the next was burning with illumination. The advancing circles of light were his protection. Shadows ever to my back and ahead, he thought as he traversed each successive aura. As each light extinguished, the ancient thing in the guise of a shadow moved forward, proving Declan's mind to be far from muddled. His instincts were unerringly correct. It haunted his path through the house, moving close to smell the coral scratches that beaded blood in the sweat of his back. A patient pleasure. No last gasps of sun streaks, nor rays of moonlight were visible through the wide circular skylight above. Almost there, Declan thought, as he plodded up the open stairs to the bedroom landing. Every evening it seemed that, in spite of his intentions and attention to the time, he would inexplicably linger somewhere. I've got to get to the bedroom earlier while it's still light. No sooner had his foot met the bedroom landing than the house plunged into darkness. Terror gripped him. "Fuck, another power cut," he whispered, hoping. Just like the night before, he paused mid-step, waiting for the generators to start up. The seconds ticked by, in vain. Fear crested and panic began to rise. The chances of a second power cut in the exact same spot seemed impossible, but random synchronicities did hang around Declan's life, like bumping into the same stranger multiple times in a new city. And in Bloomsbury, he had kept checking his phone at the exact time of 11:11 a.m. for days in a row, and repeatedly at exactly 04:45 a.m. he would be rudely awakened by the urgent sound of his name called by a sharp but saccharine voice. On the first occasion, he still feigned sleep, thinking, "It's pretending to be my mother," but it showed persistence. "This is no mind lapse," he thought in pitch black there on the landing. "This force that somehow keeps me beyond my bedroom before the sun disappears. I'm being toyed with." Vaporous shadows multiplied in the air around him. Must be those bloody rats," he exclaimed with false bravado, blaming Vanessa's chosen miscreants. In his gut he suspected something was watching, assessing him. "Who am I kidding? My bombastic tone fools no one," he thought, mocking his own lonely charade. Blood thundered in his temples. He strained his ear to the dark, but his own pulse drowned all sound. He dared not look behind him, into the dim, for fear the figure was there. Wish the lights would come back on. It was as well Declan did not look. The figure was there. Like the night before, it stretched unseen to a great height, then bent unnaturally. After several seconds it dropped smoothly to its knees and elbows and crawled reptilian-like up the wall and across the roof of the atrium. Creak! The sound was close by. It came from inside the cavernous maw at the centre of the house. He leaned forward and listened, intently, biting his lip. He still dared not peer down into the impenetrable murk, though a familiar and careless curiosity called to him to do so, but in a voice that was not his own. Thank you for listening. If you have enjoyed this episode, then please subscribe. I must leave you now, but do not despair. If you listen to the next installment, the curse cannot harm you, but you must believe. Now pull the blanket over your head and be quiet. You are not alone.